Good evening, and you are welcome to another exclusive interview powered by Anambra Television. Now, today we have in our midst the Anambra 2021 gubernatorial candidate for the Action Alliance, Mr. Ben Etiaba. And we are going to be discussing Anambra 2021, why I should become the next governor. We're going to look at it from the perspective of Mr. Ben Etiaba. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Now, just before we go ahead with the interview, can you kindly give us a bit of your background? Just tell us who you are.
All right. Ben Etiaba is from Etiaba, Umudim, Newi, in Newi North local government area of Anambra State. I'm 57, going on 58 this year. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm a fellow of the Institute and I have been since for over 20 years now. I studied initially in my village primary school, so I'm a homeboy. And then after a few years in various schools, because my father was moving around in the early 70s as a chief magistrate, I was going from one station to another. So that meant that I had to go into three secondary schools. First, Orifite Voice for a time. Okongu finished the year and finished second year. Then National Grammar School, Nike, in Enugu. And I finished my secondary school in 1979. Then I went to Uyo for School of Arts and Science Basic Studies. And then before going to England in 1982 to train as a chartered accountant. I started in England. I led my professional institute before coming back to Nigeria, and I was also chairman of the London group, the umbrella group of all Nigerian professionals in the UK, won that election in 2005. And that was the last leadership role I played in England before coming back 14 years ago to live in Nigeria. But before that, I had led Newi Community Association, a younger, 7-year-old man. I became the first chairman. I led the group for 2 terms. In the whole of Great Britain and Ireland, I was unprecedented at a bachelor at 27. I could do that. And, that was when I invited him, later, Great Ikemba, Newi, to come and address Newi in the UK for the first time since the Civil War. So I think I had a colorful career in England. When I came back, I continued with my practice. I have led 2 major groups in Nigeria here. Both of them actually are Enugu Sports Club, first at the golf section, where I became the first person to be captain of the golf section within 3 years of being a member since 1929. And was unprecedented that a young member could sort of win the captaincy of the GOC's club, the Governors Club, former governors and all of that, the commissioner of police. They elected me and I served for 2 terms. The second term was unopposed. Everywhere I have served, I've always won a second term unopposed. I've won 5 major elections, I've lost none. And I became the first person to be chairman of Enugu Sports Club. Of being a member. Usually, you'll be a member for like 10, 15 years before members can trust you enough to do that. But I did that, first person to do it within 5 years since 1929. And I, sort of performed with every sense of humility very well for that. And I'm grateful to God that today I am the candidate, the governorship candidate of Action Alliance, AA, in Anambra State, November 6th, governorship election. And in case you're confused, Action Alliance is the second party on the ballot paper, AA. So I'm flying the flag, and I'm hoping that together with my running mate, a grassroots politician, Mrs. Regina Etiaba, that will be able to take Anambra State out of darkness and into light. I think I'll describe myself. But also, let me make because I didn't come. My father was the chief magistrate, one of our foremost lawyers in Newi, and the wife, Her Excellency the Etiaba, who was governor for 3 months, CON, who today I believe is having a deserved rest, holiday in England. So that's in a nutshell who Ben is out. I have 5 siblings and I have 3 children. Thank you.
Okay, just before we go ahead, your audio is really poor. We could barely hear what you're saying. I got most of your points, but is there a way to improve your audio?
Okay, if I talk louder, can you hear me? If I talk louder?
This is better. This is better. I don't know what you did, but this is better.
Okay, I think no, don't worry, I'll talk louder now. Yes. Do you want me
Okay.
to repeat what I've said before, or is it good
No, no,
enough?
no, no,
What
no.
I
It's
said
all
earlier.
right. It's all right. It's all right. This is
Thank you
perfect.
very
Now
much.
remember that you can join us on this interview simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions and comments as possible. Now you've given us an impressive resume, but you once said that you've been preparing for this position since 2001. Can you expatiate on that?
Yes, in September 2001, I led a group of chartered accountants from England, Nigerian chartered accountants from England, to ICANN conference in Abuja. And within that, during that conference, General Gowon, the former head of state, came to speak to us, and I had a quick meeting with him, a brief meeting. It wasn't a planned meeting, and in just a few minutes, he was very impressed, and he said to me, Ben, why don't you consider coming back to Nigeria to lead in Nigeria? I think you have something to offer. And that sounded right to me. This was in September 2001. And that got me thinking. I left the conference, and outside of the conference, it was at Hilton, Icon Hilton at the time, and Transcorp today. There were lots of bookstores there. Usually at conferences, you have a lot of people selling books. So I bought this very well written book, but badly printed, How to Win Elections. And I used that book to win a number of elections, and I lost on it. So I've been planning since September 2001. I kept it to myself, and that informed actually my coming back to Nigeria with my family to sort of to understand the system, understand the terrain better, and study the politics of Anambra State. And I felt that part of my preparation was to do it outside politics. I've never played politics before now. I've not been any part of any government before now. I wasn't one that sort of did politics to sort of acquire enough money to be able to do something like this. So I kept away from politics because I wanted to prepare myself outside of that and to be able to come into politics like I've done now with a different set of values. I wanted to come in, being able to smell the sort of trouble in politics that our politicians may not necessarily see because they're all part of the system. So, not being in partisan politics, but pretty much every leadership role I've taken in the last 30 years, I've taken on in the last 30 years, they've been political. And, I thought that was a good way of getting ready, preparing myself for this. Thank you.
Okay. Now with your preparation and your planning and now the execution, are you convinced that you're going to win the Anambra November 6th election?
Okay. Only God can answer that question. All I can do as a human being is to do the best I can and leave the rest to God. It's only God that anoints leaders. And I look around, I see a lot of people, a lot of candidates prancing around as governors in waiting. And what I say is that those candidates have been anointed by men, not by God. And at the end of the day, God will have his say. So am I convinced I'm going to win? What I will tell you is that I'm doing every possible thing within my means and to be able to win. And I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to fight to win. Because to me, it's about changing the narrative. It's about taking this discussion on a different lane. It's about being able to enthrone the sort of leadership our people are not used to. Bread and butter politics. That's not what I'm about. It's about taking our people out of darkness and into light. And it's about doing the very basic things. Because I always say to people that the things that run the world can be very basic ones. Very basic things, not the gigantic projects tend to be all fixated on. And so I am, yes, ready to serve. I have prepared myself and I'm offering myself and I'm selling my vision to the people. And you will find that all through my campaign, this has gone on for the last 2.5 years, all through my campaign, it has always been issue-based for me. I have never attacked any political party. I have never attacked any aspirant before now or candidate now. It's not in my best interest to do that. I'm not even interested in that. There's so much gone wrong and there's so much to fix and so little time to be distracted. So I am doing my best to see if there's been enough enlightenment within our populace to say now we'll move in a different direction. Because if you continue doing the same thing the same way over and over again, the result will still be the same. You'll still be wallowing in darkness. And when I talk about darkness, people don't understand it. It's darkness in education and security. We've seen that there's insecurity pervading the system now. Darkness in agriculture, in infrastructure. So we're just barely scratching the surface and solving the wrong problems in my little world. I think the problems we're solving, our leaders are solving, are the wrong ones. And the issues are there, sort of glaring at us. And we're looking at a gift horse in the mouth. And we don't seem to be able to understand what the issues are. And until you begin to understand the issues, you can't solve it. So I offer a different narrative. I offer a different vision. I offer a different direction. And hopefully, like Brad Solo says, the key to success is to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And that's what I'm doing now. And again, I'll put someone else, John Story, who used to be the CEO of who said that the future belongs to those who see possibilities before they become obvious. So a lot of people might think I'm kidding, but I can tell you that there's enough people who are beginning to see that maybe this guy is seeing something we're not seeing. Maybe this guy, by doing things differently, will take us to the desired destination. I'm so grateful that today I'm the candidate of Action Alliance, a great party that came second in the governorship election in Imo State the last time. I really won't want to comment on what happened at that election. Suffice it to say that it won't be wrong if you sort of find that Action Alliance won the last governorship election with Uche Bosu
Okay.
in Imo State. So I'm happy to be a member of AA, the candidate of AA. I'm here to speak with her and to everyone tonight.
Okay, you've mentioned different issues. You've mentioned on political alignment. You've mentioned your love for your current party and all that. But before we go deep into those issues, let us get a summary of your manifesto. What do you have for India Anambra?
Thank you. I'll tell you the summary of the manifesto, but I'll also sort of put this addendum that we put too much stock on manifestos rather than putting stock on the people giving you the manifesto, because it's what that person has done in the past. Will tell you whether he'll live up to the words, up to the promises. But we run on a 5 cardinal point agenda, the Action Alliance agenda for Anambra State. And first of all, it's on security. We know that Anambra State is not a very secure state at the moment, most of the Southeast, but particularly Anambra State. And in the case of Anambra State, you can understand because there's an election round the corner. So it's worse in Anambra. So I think we want to be able to return Anambra to sleep with both eyes closed at night and not worried about whether they're going to be sort of seeing tomorrow. So security should be a priority. It should be number one. It will be very well funded. And if you get security wrong, you cannot get education right. If you get security wrong, you cannot get healthcare right. Get security wrong, people will feel very insecure. They won't want to go to the farms because they won't want to be kidnapped. They won't want to be raped, women, etc. So you need to get security right to fix education, fix healthcare, fix agriculture. You need to get security right to be able to you will want to go. Security is number one. Another is the light of the nation. Yes,
I'm sorry, Mr. Etiaba.
I'm sorry. Currently facing us. But
Mr. Etiaba, I'm sorry to cut you short. Your audio has gone back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, your audio is bad again. I don't know what you did before, but can you do it again? Because we stopped. We can't hear you.
Let me try
again because we stopped.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Is it possible to speak without the earpod? My experience is that earpod or earphone disturbs sleep.
Yeah, give me a minute to switch off the earpod and see if it works. out.
No problem. No problem. So
disconnected.
no problem. So while we're waiting for our guest to try to fix his audio, remember that you can join the program. Now? Yes, we can hear you. Remember that you can join the program simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions and comments as possible. Yes, we can hear you, sir. You can go on with what you were saying. We can hear you better.
Yeah, you can hear me now, can you?
Yes, it's way better.
All right. So where do you want me to take, sort of start again?
Okay, we were talking about your manifesto, and you were telling us that it's better to talk about you as a person, the person that produced the manifesto rather than the manifesto. But you also mentioned security, then you went on to education.
Yes, I said without security, you cannot fix the rest of what we want to do. We can't fix education, you cannot fix healthcare, you cannot fix agriculture, and you cannot fix infrastructure. So if you get security right, then you can move on to other things. So that's going to be a low-hanging fruit. It's going to be a quick win. From ground zero, we'll go tackle security head on. And of course, you know that part of why the place is insecure is bad leadership. Bad leadership because if people don't have hope that tomorrow will be better than today, they're going to resort to mischief. If people are unemployed, they're going to resort to mischief. So, there are so many things we can do to fix security. If we get to that side, I'll talk more about it. But if you go to education, like I was mentioning earlier, if security wasn't bad, education would have been top priority. But now, because of insecurity, education will be number 2 in the Action Alliance agenda. Education will have to take Anambra, the light of the nation, from 3rd position on most league tables to number 1 in 4 years. That is doable. Because thanks to what the previous governors did, we have to give them credit. They did a lot in that sector. That's why we're able to sit on that 3rd position. But an Action Alliance government will not rest on our oars. We'll make sure we go from 3 to 2. And there are a number of things we can do to have schools that look like schools, okay? Most people will say, will be contesting for elections. They will say, vote for me and I'll bring my children back from abroad to come and study in Anambra State, in Nigeria, in Igbo land. But my kids are all studied here, despite the fact they could have studied in England. They did their primary school here, they did their secondary school here, and they did their first degree, all of them. All my 3 kids are graduates. So I know the importance of education and in making sure that we have good schools, not just from families like mine, for indigent families, all the families, because that's the best thing you can bequeath to your generations, strong education, not how much money you leave behind for them. Anyway, besides that, number 3 on our agenda will be healthcare. And all over the world, you have Anambra citizens as top professionals in England, in the whole of Great Britain, United Kingdom, in the US, Canada, as doctors, as nurses, as pharmacists, paramedics. So we want to be able to fix our hospitals so they will look like hospitals, equip our hospitals, pay our medical personnel well, and sort of create an enabling environment for our medical people to come back from abroad to help us. Not because we don't have enough doctors or good doctors, but they will be overwhelmed if, by His grace, we get in. So they will need help, and especially medical care now is IT driven. We need those people, who have used those equipments abroad to be able to come back. There's no use bringing all those equipments, world-class equipments back if people cannot use them. So we need help from our people abroad to come back and transfer that technology to our people at home and train them. And the next one is agriculture. M.I. Okpara was able to use agriculture to develop the Eastern region in the 60s. He was able to take the Eastern region in 4 years from 1960 to 1964 to be one of the fastest growing economies of the world. And so if we fix agriculture, we're going to be food sufficient in Anambra. We'll be able to export food that will give us money. We'll be able to solve insecurity, quite a lot of insecurity challenges, because people will be employed. So there's so much you can do with agriculture. And if MI could do this in the 60s, mechanize and industrialize the Eastern region using agriculture, why can we not do it in today's world? With a great leader, with a great worldview, we should be able to do it in today's world. And over 98% of our land is arable land. So why can't we stop being lazy and cultivate more and do it in a modern way, using modern technology also to deliver in that sector? And finally, integrated infrastructure and environmental production, environmental protection, not production. Quite a lot of our territory now ravished by ecological disasters. So we'll make sure these things are checked. You have ecological funds coming in from time to time. It is time to deploy those funds to where they should work. There's a social media video trending at the moment where an old man lives next to a very big ravine. You know, that sort of breaks my heart because I sleep in my lovely home every night worrying about that old man, whether he's going to wake up at night or whether there will be a heavy storm, a heavy rain, and then he'll lose his house. So environmental protection is very massive in the Action Alliance agenda. But we talk about infrastructure, and usually when you say infrastructure, people think of building roads. Our government will not do new roads until we fix the existing roads. All our roads are bad at the moment. I can't tell you any road that is motorable now. Maybe one or two, done in the past. But I'll say that over 90% of our roads are pothole filled. So before we build new ones, we'll go back to Anambra has the best network of roads, again, thanks to former governors. But we'll go back to ensuring that all those potholes we get rid of them. And this can be done in months, can be done in the first year, within the first Christmas of the Action Alliance government in Anambra State. So fix the roads before you do new ones. Decongest the bottlenecks of Nobi Junction, Oga Junction, the Kulobia Junction, Afriwe. Just name them everywhere, especially during the festive periods. You can't move anywhere. You cannot move because our people, we're used to coming back with a 6-car convoy. But even at times, when those convoys are not there, you cannot move. So until we decongest those bottlenecks, either we do flyovers or we expand the roads, but put in proper traffic management systems. Then we can go on and do new roads. But again, there's no point in building, these white elephant projects, new buildings, until we go back to complete the abandoned projects started by previous governors over the years with our money. Okay, so why abandon them so that Etiaba will bring, AA will say, oh, we built this project, was started by, those things mean nothing. Any reasonable government coming in should ensure that money is spent in the past by the state are put to good use by completing the projects we started. Okay, and we know why people start new projects and abandon those old ones. We don't want to go into it tonight. So there's so much you can do on infrastructure. You can even go into power, independent power. Our people are now beginning slowly to use alternative sources of energy, like solar power, but we'll do more. Okay, we'll use gas turbines. If you go to Scotland now, you'll find that quite a number of the farmers are concessioning their farmlands to wind turbines to generate electricity. That's one way of doing it. We have a lot of land doing nothing. We have a lot of wind every day. So why can't we harness all of these things and use them to power, to build independent power plants here and there? And if in the power sector, we can turn, Anambra is very filthy, very, very filthy. Almost every road is now a garbage collection point, okay? We'll clear the rubbish. Again, this is one of the low-hanging fruits AA will attack from day one. Rid the place of rubbish. It's an environmental mess. Cholera, a lot of diseases everywhere because of the fact that the place is not clean. So we'll clean up the place. We'll even turn the waste into energy. So much to be done. And then, of course, we'll get into the issue of monorail. Anambra has a very small landmass. Next to Lagos State, we have the smallest landmass. And we have never been able to take advantage of that small landmass. And what do I mean by that? Anambra can be turned into a one-town state, okay? One-town state by networking all the towns together. And you can do that using monorail. I mean, the road network is wonderful now. All we need to do is to make sure that they are motorable, okay? Do monorail. And when I talk about monorail, people keep thinking it's one big idea, a big dream that cannot be done. It is not true. The government that handed over to the present government already did the feasibility study with a Canadian company, already signed agreements. I'm aware of that, okay? Action Alliance, we are talking with a Turkish firm, a Turkish company, who are ready to come and do this thing and run it over 10 years. It won't cost us anything apart from the feasibility study that has already been done. So ours will be to update that study and then hand over to them to build it, make their money in 10 years and hand it over to us. And in that 10 years, they'll be paying us too. And if we had done this 10 years ago by now, we would have inherited the rail tracks and the rail stock. There is so much to do. But like I said at the beginning, it is not about shouting, saying all the greatest things in the world that you will do. Anybody can go and download any manifesto online and begin to sound intelligent by telling you what they will do. What is important is this guy, who is he? What has he done in the past? Has he led anywhere? How did he leave those places he led to make you believe that he'll live up to his promises? And I'll tell you this before I stop this section. Everywhere I have led, I have won a second term unopposed. And I say it not because I've been better than the chairman that led those groups, 5 groups in total, but because I have always lived up to my promises. That's why I keep getting re-elected unopposed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now let me ask you this. Like you said, you've mentioned really beautiful points: infrastructure, security, education, and the rest of them. Do you have any policy in place to implement this thing? Because what we are lacking in Nigeria is not bright ideas, but implementation. How do you intend to implement this? Is it something you can share with us now?
Yes, I can tell you a bit of this, but I'm sure you'll excuse me to keep a bit more to myself. Okay, you cannot be making promises without having a clear plan as to how to deliver them. I'll give you one example. I think I can give you 2 examples, okay? Let us talk about education. I mentioned education earlier. In the sector of education, we budget enough money every year. But don't ask me what proportion of the budget gets used in that sector. But there are a few things we will do. I'm a chartered accountant. I know that you can do a forecast and that you have to, sort of explain where that money will come from. So it's not like you earmark for the years only and nothing gets done. But in the sector of education, in fact, in all the sectors, the things we'll do won't be very expensive. But those are things that have been fine-tuned to meet the objective. In education, I don't know the last time you were in Anambra and the last time you saw our schools, both primary and the tertiary, secondary and tertiary schools. We don't have schools that look like schools. And you keep having a very high rate of dropouts, especially male dropouts from our schools. So the first thing you do is to fix the infrastructure. Have buildings that look like you. Don't build more. I don't believe in a sort of building more. Fix the existing buildings you have. Have schools with perimeter fencing. Most of our schools are in the middle of nowhere, no fence. And that's a security disaster too. I mean, we've seen what's happening. Thank God, not in this part of the country. But, gunmen go to schools and kidnap, sort of school children. But we must have our schools fenced with a gate. All the schools must be fenced. That's a standard, okay? That's the first thing. And we must make sure that the roofs, the windows, the floors, the walls are as they should be, okay? The infrastructure must be right. Have schools that look like schools. Because until you have that and have students that look like students with the right uniforms, they will have no value for what they are getting. Once you've done that, get infrastructure right. Make sure those schools are equipped with the right books, with the right modern techniques of teaching. Once you've gotten the equipment and sort of sorted out, make sure you have the right teachers. If the teachers are not right, don't necessarily sack them. Retrain them and recruit the right teachers to teach these students. But it just doesn't end there. When you recruit these teachers, you have to motivate them by paying them promptly and paying them properly. By the time we do a combination of these things, you will find that this that I say we will do in 4 years will be achievable. We'll be able to revamp the educational sector in Anambra State. I'm the product of a teacher. My mother, that you all know as a politician, we know her as an educationist. And if you see what she has done with her children and other kids, we were not gifted particularly. But none of us, thanks to God, went astray. And we've all qualified at the highest level and all doing well in our respective fields. That is what a good product gives you if you get the education sector right. And it shouldn't be for me or families like mine. It should be accessible to every family. And of course, affordable at the point of use. I can still tell you the same thing in the health sector, but I think this should be good enough.
Okay, now we have a question from the comment section, and it says, how could you build power generating and distribution companies within the constraints of our constitutional framework?
Thank you. In Nigeria, power is one of those things on the exclusive list. That means that it is a preserve of the federal government that, sort of they take care of that. But even within that, there's a general rule and there are exceptions to every rule. Even within that, we have seen pockets of independent power plants everywhere. So it has never been a problem that independent power springs up. So long as you're doing it for a particular consumption, you're not doing it to compete with the power holding companies, the power generation and distribution companies, it should be okay. Special purpose. In Enugu here, for instance, in Enugu, I'm talking to you from Enugu, that's I say in Enugu here. I was in Anambra earlier today. I went to the synod in Nnewi. Are you still getting me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. This interview I'm conducting in Enugu tonight. So now in Enugu, you have Hiliu Properties. It's one of the biggest estates here. And there's an independent power company from Atlanta powering that. Okay. So we're talking to them already. We're not reinventing the wheel. The wheel is already invented. And we hope to bring that company to Anambra to help us and similar companies like that. I said, okay, I'll give you another example. When Etiaba was governor in the year 2006, between November 2006 and 2007, a Canadian company came in and made a very beautiful proposal. I was aware, I wasn't part of the government, but I heard, to turn waste into energy as far back as 2007. Okay, if we had done that then, they were very pleased with Onitsha. Onitsha was very filthy. I was embarrassed that Onitsha was filthy. But to them, it was an opportunity to generate power in Anambra. Okay, so you can do these things. It is not rocket science. And in today's world, you can do pockets of these things and give power to your small and medium enterprise outfits in Anambra, and power some homes as well and in the estates. So you can do that. Yes, you can. Others
okay. All right. Remember that you can join the conversation simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions as possible. Now, someone also asked, my chief, you have spoken well. Let me ask this. What is your plan to improve the incubation centers in Anambra and also build new ones to encourage technology in Anambra?
Do you
have plans to establish incubation centers in Anambra?
Yeah.
Said, do you have plans to
like that?
Let me complete it. Said, do you have plans to establish advanced public laboratories where people can carry out and access research free of charge?
Okay, thank you. There's a lot to be done. And often everything should not be done and must not be done by the government. And at the risk of promising, let me start with the first question he asked. Incubation centers. I have been someone who has over the years mentored a lot of young ones. And I have two sons who are graduates and who have all served out their youth service. And they are part of the incubation process going on now in the Southeast. Let me not say the location. So if my kids can benefit from this idea, that should tell you that I know the value of this. And that is something that I'll have a very keen interest in ensuring that as a government, that Action Alliance will provide the enabling environment for the private sector to come in and help us to get things like this done. Everything must not be done by government. If you want to lump everything on the government, then that government will be ineffective. And if I come here to say I'll do everything just because it sounds right to say that, then we'll be ineffective. But what I can tell you is that we will create the enabling environment for this to happen. And this is happening, being done by the private sector elsewhere. And I don't know of any in Anambra. There might be one or two that I'm unaware of, maybe at a smaller scale. If anything was happening at the larger scale, I would have known. So we will come in and make sure that these ideas are brought to the fore. I'm an ideas person. Anybody that knows me will know that I thrive on creative thinking. I am a very strategic thinker. And if that is so, it's incumbent on me to ensure that I extend that opportunity to especially the youth of Anambra. And I've always said that I'll partner with the youth if I'm able to be governor, to run the government of Anambra State, partner 50-50 to make sure that we deliver. Because I think the future belongs to them. But the way Nigeria is going, when people, my father's, our parents' ages are still in government, hey, I'm still a youth. But if I'm a youth, what opportunities will my children and their peers have? So we're going to partner with them and be able to groom them for office prepare them to be able to handle leadership for tomorrow.
Okay, now we've talked so much about your manifesto, your campaign, and your candidates. Now let's talk about your political party. You were once, like I said, we'll come back to your political alignment, so that's where we are now. You were once an aspirant under the All Progressive Congress. Why did you leave, and why did you choose to run under the Action Alliance?
Okay, I will say that my party left me. I think it's an easy way of saying it, putting it. I think most people know what happened at the primaries of APC. So I don't think I want to comment on that. It will not be fair on the APC candidate. I'm not here to run him down. It will not be fair on APC. In fact, if anything, I'm grateful to APC for availing me their platform to ventilate my political aspiration for 2 years. But what happened. It's a matter for adjudication by the law courts at the moment. There are a number of cases in the courts. And I don't want to come here and begin to give evidence that ordinarily should be available to the courts. I think most people knew what happened. I won't say more than that. But thank God I was able to discover Action Alliance, and the party discovered me. And but I was very grateful to have started in a bigger party, on a bigger platform. And when I chose APC, people were laughing at me. Ben, APC will never win in Anambra. It's a Boko Haram party, it's a Fulani headsman party. I didn't care at all because it's always going to be about the candidate, not about the party. And this election will be about the candidate, not about the party. So people will vote for AA. But they will vote for AA, I believe, and I predict will do well in this election. And by His grace, if God wills it, we'll win this election. They will vote for AA, Action Alliance, because of the candidate, okay? Any other party that wins any votes, they will win because of that candidate. I predicted before the election that ABGA will implode. It is happening now. And what's happening in ABGA, again, I'm not going to run that party down. Because don't forget that the fact that that party produced my mother as the governor, the first female governor in Nigeria, and the only female governor in Nigeria till today. But what happened in ABGA is, sort of a natural progression in politics. Once a party has been in office for two tenures, yes, or 4 terms, it will be, sort of unreal if this implosion didn't happen. So it was bound to happen. I predicted that. It has happened. I'm not gloating. So ABGA, that's it. I'm not God. I'm just, as a human being, making my own predictions. And I also predicted that PDP, they implode every 4 years. That it was going to happen. We've seen it again now. And good luck to my friend Val in what he's doing. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for my friend Soludo Moji, whoever the candidate will be. I just don't know. I'm happy for my friend Andiuba. We were in church today together. We're not quarreling. This is not about sort of attacking any human being. It's about issue-based campaign. For 2.5 years, I've been campaigning on issues, and I think people notice that and people like that. I have no interest in running anybody down. I have every interest in telling the Anambra, if you want to lead darkness, and if you want to lead darkness and into light, Action Alliance is the best option, and that's what I'm here to do tonight. Thank you.
Okay, now talking about your party AA, after the deadline of July 30th of July 2021 for parties to produce their candidates, you were not the AA's candidate at that point. So how did you convince the party to select you, and how did you convince the candidate at that time to step down for you?
Okay, what I will tell you is that there are ways and processes and deadlines for conducting your primaries, and the same thing for substitution. And that we met every deadline and we met every process in that substitution. So if that hadn't happened, Ben Etiaba wouldn't have been the candidate of Action Alliance today in INEC. We have a body that is authorized to oversee these things, and they do their job diligently. And it's not just to do with Action Alliance. We had other substitutions. The YPP substituted their deputy governorship candidate. The Zenith Labour Party substituted. Accord Party substituted. AP and many parties substituted. But all those substitutions followed a process. And that process meant that, you had to get it right. Otherwise, you're not a candidate. So everything was above board. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a comment we have a question from the comment section, and it says, you said all roads in Anambra State are bad. Have you carried out any research to have an idea of what it will cost to repair these roads?
Okay, I'm in Anambra all the time now because of the campaign. I've seen the roads. When you look at the budget for that sector in a year, 25% of what is a mark for new roads can actually fix the existing roads. Okay, Anambra has the best network of roads. I'll say it any day. I will always give credit. I will always give credit to what the previous governors have done. After all, I'm not a governor yet. I've not been elected governor. So it will be very pompous of me to come here and say, oh, they didn't do well or whatever. But all I can tell you is that we have enough money within the budget of Anambra State every single year to fix those roads. And by the way, let me also tell you this. If by his grace, Action Alliance comes into office in March, 17th of March, 2022, and that is our prayer, we will be inheriting a budget already signed, passed by the House and signed by the governor. So we will not be implementing our own budget, but a budget that we will be inheriting. Yes, we may go for supplementary budget or for variation, but in whichever form it comes, we will be able to do these things. We are not over-promising. What we are promising, if anything, is to scale down, because at a time of austerity, of what will I say, when the economy is shrinking, you cannot overpromise. What you do is to live within the means available, and you can get these things done. And also, let me tell you this. We have been a bit lazy. We have been a bit lazy in the way we've led our people. You know, there are lots of free funds. We're not just going to rely on federal allocations. You go to Abuja every month. That's going to be lazy leadership. No, we won't rely on that. You collect federal allocations that you share, like a cashier. That's not creativity. That's not vision. And if you look at the IGR that we're generating at the moment it's about 1.7 billion every month. That's not good enough. That's not good enough, considering where we're coming from in Anambra. Enugu generates a lot more than that, at 2.2 billion. And you know Enugu is a civil servant state. So we will be ensuring that the monies we collect go into the right pockets, and that's the pockets of the government, the coffers of the government. And the funds are utilized to develop the state. But above all, it's not just that. There are lots of free funds foreign donors give, but they want to see seriousness. They were here in Anambra before, but they left. Any serious governor who is prudent, who has vision, and who is serious-minded will bring them back. And we hope to bring them back, to come and help us, be our development partners to fix Anambra State. Lots to be done, but lots of ways to fund the things to be done. Thank you.
Okay, I saw Odatango's hand up. Odatango Ugochukwu.
Yes, good evening, Sadis. Good evening. The person may be. Brother Etiaba,
My brother.
I have asked a question before, so I don't need more questions to ask you. What I have now to tell you is for you to keep it up. Anambra people need a change, and the change may be you or anybody.
Amen.
But I'm promising you that these three giant parties in Anambra will not see the day. If people's vote were counted, will be counted. Apoga APC, PDP, my forecast. The question I asked last time was about continuity. You talk of road, you talk of security. But I know the odds you will meet by the time, because even if you become a governor, become a governor tomorrow, you don't control federal might, federal police, you can't control them, you will only try your best on security. But when people are determined, they can help you out. So the system we are having, all you are manifesting is superb. You have a superb manifest that if it's well implemented, people will feel good impact. But what I'm saying is that How do we control vote rigging? If people's vote will count, these three big giant parties have new party will have a sympathy vote. And the new party in Anambra State now is you and the YPP. But on credibility stand, you have more chance. So keep it up and work hard. I wish you the best of luck. If you people vote count, you will make it. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very grateful, my brother. I recall the last time the question you asked, but can I make a comment on what Tango said? Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I think he came up with some good points, but let me talk about rigging of the election. I actually don't believe that this election will be rigged, and I'm being serious-minded about it. The impression we're getting now is that it's already called, that we're just waiting for the announcement to be made, but that cannot be true. I'll give you two instances. The last two elections, governorship elections. In Edo State, Governor Baseki left APC, the power in government at the center, controlling the police, INEC, everything. He went to PDP and he won. Nobody rigged it for APC. And after that, a few months after that, I was in Ondo to campaign for my friend, Governor Akeredolu. And he was a governor that did well in his first term. He campaigned, he did very well. He campaigned well too. He had the resources to campaign very well. He won the debate. So he did everything right. Everybody would have expected that he will overwhelm Jegede and his former deputy to sort of rig the elections. No, that didn't happen. I monitored the elections, and there was no incident of rigging that was reported. I don't know what's in court, but the election was seen adjudged to be free and fair, no noises. Of course, in any election, there might be one or two pockets of sort of mischief, but it was largely free and fair. And Akeredolu was returned to office to a second term and confirmed by the courts. Okay, and so that ends there. If an incumbent governor cannot, in a ruling party at the center, cannot rig his own election with all the resources available to him, I just don't believe that it will be possible for anybody to come to Anambra State, where you're going to be having at least 8 serious parties in this election to rig. That cannot happen. That just cannot happen. Anambra State is not just anywhere. You can't do it. So I think the issue of this air of inevitability is to scare people. But if you continue doing what you're doing, selling your message to the people, hey, our people are tired. Our people are tired of the same old story, the same old money politics. They want to see something new. And I believe that if we get it right, we'll have a good chance, and we're fighting to win. Thank you.
Okay, just before I call the next person, let me ask you this now. People have accredited the insecurity to the Fulani herdsmen, the unknown gunmen, to these two policies, the Ruga policy and the grazing bill. What are your thoughts on these policies, and what will your government do if given the opportunity to enter Goka come next year?
Okay, I will tell you that Action Alliance, as led by Ben Etiaba in Anambra State, will not subscribe to open grazing. Just take it to the bank, okay? The modern way of doing these things is ranching, okay? All over the world, you don't see, in enlightened climes, you don't see herders with cows on the main road, sort of terrorizing people. They have ranches. We're going to subscribe to ranches. And we'll encourage as many private sector people to get into it as possible. Our people like eating beef. It would have been, these problems would have been solved if we say, oh, no to beef. But we like eating beef for some reason. We like giving cows. There was a funeral in Oba a few weeks ago. The number of cows that were delivered there. It's part of our culture now, okay? We will never subscribe to, Action Alliance will never subscribe to Ruga. Come on, we don't have enough land for that. So, that's a given. We don't let nobody worry at all about that. But insecurity to me comes in different forms and for different reasons. I don't think it's all to do with just the headers and let's be sort of get it right. We have a lot more than that going on. And only the security agencies and the governor, who's the chief security officer of the state, can tell us what is going on. And I say he can tell us because he's the one that has access to the security reports. And there was something Tango said earlier as well when he spoke. He mentioned the fact that it's going to be difficult for a governor who is not in control of this commissioner of police to maintain security. I understand that sentiment, but let me also reassure him that it won't be that difficult. Again, we are not reinventing the wheel. Between the years 2003 and 2006, Governor Chris Ngige held sway in Awka. And he was of the ruling party then, but he didn't have the backing of the federal might. And that meant that he was not in control of the police force in Anambra State. You know what he cleverly did? He was able to get the House to give him a strong resolution on vigilante services, which we're still using till today. And he was able to use the vigilante services in Anambra State to keep Anambra safe. Any serious-minded governor will protect his people. And our number one priority, Action Alliance, as I said, will be the protection of lives and property of the Anambra. We will not toy or joke with it. I've said this before, and somebody said to me, yes, but then Chris Ngige became the first governor to be kidnapped when he was in that period. If security was that good, why was he kidnapped? I retorted, what then happened at the end of that kidnap? The kidnap was foiled. The kidnap failed because Anambra was secure at that time. If he didn't have strong security around him at that time, he would have, his tenure would have ended there, and only God knows what could have happened to him at that time. So Anambra was safe under Chris Ngige. Whatever happened or didn't happen. So under Ben Etiaba in Action Alliance, Anambra will be safe. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, let us call on the next person, Tim Elumba. You can see your hand up. The platform is yours.
Yes. Good evening, sir, Mr. Ben.
Tim, good evening.
Good to hear from you again.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yes, sir. I want to take you a bit back to what you just said about the possibility of election rigging in Anambra State. You categorically ruled it out, and you cited some interesting incidences like in those states and Ondo State. Good and fine. However, I don't know if you are responding based on my reports last week or thereabout, or based on your own intel, that there is speculations are rife that the election might be rigged by the government at the center because they have shown a desperate attitude. I find it difficult to just wave it off because of what I saw during the primaries of the APC, following which you said that the party left you. Everybody in the party confirmed that there was no election. All the party stalwarts, even the leader of the party in the state said there was no election, that a new date would be given. Suddenly, an election result appeared from the blues and is today sitting tight in the APA and the INEC website. And then I also got my own intel that APC is exhibiting such another desperate move that they want to take, quote, an APC chieftain, quote unquote, they want to take Anambra State by hook or crook. Do you think, as you mentioned, that we can close eyes and pretend that this thing will never happen simply because it didn't happen in Ondo State and Edo State, remembering very well what happened in Imo State when someone that finished fourth in an election ended up as the number one? That's my question. So.
Okay, thank you so much. My brother, I said thank you, and thank you for contributing to this debate and what you wrote earlier, but I didn't see it. I was just talking without having read what you wrote. Okay, but I'll tell you why I said what I said. There's a big difference between a primary election and a governorship election, the general election. In a primary election, the Electoral Act and the Constitution will tell you that it is the prerogative of the political party to say who their candidate is. However they arrive at that is their headache. You can go to court as it's happening in APC now. I'm not in court. It's not worth my while, and I'm doing this. Now, if you want to do the general election, the governorship election, the same way you have done the process you've used in the primary election, it will backfire. It will not work. I can tell you this. You will be up against Action Alliance in Ben Etiaba. Okay, you may say Action Alliance, Ben Etiaba, small fries, you overlook us. Okay. There is a huge strength in numbers, let me tell you. Okay. You will be up against not just Action Alliance and Ben Etiaba. You will be up against an incumbent government in Anambra State, in Willie Obiano, and whoever the candidate is today. It's my friend Chukuma Soludo. Okay? You will be up against whoever the candidate of PDP is. As of today, I believe it is my friend. It's not for me to pronounce, but I think it's my friend, Valo Zibo. And the PDP machinery. Okay? Not a mean, a party that ran the country for 16 years. No, just no mean feat. Okay? And then, of course, you have APC. You have other billionaires in this race. You have Obioro Okonkwo in ZLT. You have Maduka in Accord. And then, of course, you have an incumbent senator. You cannot tell me that he wouldn't know what to do to win an election. He has done that already. By the way, where were these parties when a new party that never won any election before won the Anambra South Senate election just a few months ago? Okay? These things are designed to frighten you. If you're the faint-hearted, you will run away. I am not faint-hearted. I am in this to contest. I'm in this to do the best I can and leave the rest to God. And when I say the best I can, I believe by His grace that my best and the best of Action Alliance with a great deputy governorship candidate, by the way, I've not mentioned her tonight, Mrs. Regina Ochebo, who's a wonderful grassroots politician. I believe that the way we're coming together and doing what we're doing, and people think we're joking, people think we're not serious, that at the end of the day, our efforts will be rewarded. So I'm not frightened, my brother. I don't think anybody can try to read. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying nobody will try to read. People will have their plans, but not because I'm frustrated. Maybe it is difficult to get this thing done in a general election. Just simple as that. Yeah.
Sir, I think I subscribe to your idea, especially considering the big parties who are also gunning for the same election. However, most of these parties you mentioned were also on ground in Imo State when somebody that finished fourth came first, and nothing happened. My intel says that APC wants to just pronounce any result they can lay hand on and tell the rest to go to court, knowing fully well that they're in charge of the courts. And
okay,
but I'm not saying it will happen quite all right, but this is what the information I already also at my disposal.
Okay, can I tell you a few things? Has it occurred to you that since that judgment in Imo State, that there's also been a different judgment in Bayelsa? What happened in Imo State was not what INEC announced, okay? It was the Supreme Court. Now, but the same Supreme Court took the governorship away from APC and gave it to PDP. Are you aware of this? So sometimes we may look at these things and we think, oh, it's all, sort of nobody can do anything at all about it. It is not true, okay? The same INEC supervised the Edo election and nobody was intimidated or the wrong results announced. So these things, and no court has upturned that. So, in the case of Imo State, let me not make a comment there because I'm not a lawyer, that's the first one. And also I didn't follow it closely, so I cannot tell you what happened. If I could, I'll tell you. I don't run away from a fight. I don't run away from the facts. So I'm not qualified to discuss Imo State. All I know was that the incumbent governor didn't win at the polling booth, but won at the court. So I'm sure the court saw whatever came to that decision by whatever wisdom, I don't know. But the same court has not favored the same party, APC, in Bayelsa. So let's not read too much meaning into these things. And let me tell you the danger in what we're doing now. If we begin to say, oh, it's all, sort of the results are already written, why are we then campaigning? Why are we then expecting our people to come out and vote. They will believe the results already, it's all predetermined. No way, it is not. And that's not why I'm saying this. I am fighting to win. Mrs. Uchebo is fighting to win. The Action Alliance, we're fighting to win. Okay? And by his grace, we will, if it pleases God. And let me tell you this. There was something I said earlier. You know, people who walk around and they are walking around as governors in waiting, and I laugh. I laugh and I laugh again. And why do I laugh? We tend to forget the role of divinity, spirituality in power. You cannot, there's always a God factor. Uche Hope Uzodimma is governor of Imo State today because he pleased God for him to be there. I wouldn't think anything otherwise. Okay? The next governor of Anambra State has been predetermined already by God. All of us are actors in all parties, going through the motions. At the end of the day, man will make all the gra-gra, but God will have his say, and we'll all have to abide by that, including me. And I believe that I'll be happy with God's decision in November.
Okay, because our time is fast spent, and ordinarily we should have let you go by now. But let me just ask this one last question before we call it a day, or rather a night. If given the opportunity, and if, for instance, the interest of the party Action Alliance and the interest of India Anambra ever comes in conflict, which will you prioritize?
Okay, that's a question that I believe you've already answered for me by asking. It's not a leading question. There is no doubt that the interest of India Anambra will always be paramount, will supersede the personal interest of Ben Etiaba and Mrs. Regina Uchebo or Action Alliance as a party. Okay? It must be about the interest of India Anambra. I tell you, Anambra needs next an altruistic governor, a selfless servant as governor. And if you believe in selfless service, you have no way, no reason to begin to think about your own selfish interest over and above your overriding public interest. It will never happen under the Action Alliance government, hopefully to be led by Etiaba and Uchebo.
Okay, and someone just asked this question. Let me just take this for call it a day. Are you planning to return to APC if you win, having gone to Action Alliance from the APC? I asked this question because of the ongoing political realignment in Igbo land towards election of a president from Igbo extraction. Okay,
I'll say what George Bush Senior said when he was asked about taxes and new taxes when he was contesting for the presidency of US the first time. Read my lips. I am the candidate of Action Alliance by his grace. If I win by his grace, I will run the government as a member, a loyal member of Action Alliance, and I will seek re-election under the banner of Action Alliance. And by his grace, I'll serve out the second term under the banner of Action Alliance. And let me tell you this. Hakim, a few years ago, won the governorship of Imo State under the banner of PPA. And what did he do? Within a few months, he left for PDP. It cost him. He did not win his re-election. Every 4 years, Hakim is jumping from one party to another. I'm not insulting him, but it was a wrong move, trying to seek re-election. If he had stayed in PPA, he would have been re-elected, okay? I'll give you a second example. In Ondo State, Labour Party was not known. And Mimiko took Labour Party that was unknown to government house. He did not leave a Labour Party to rejoin a PDP. He used Labour Party to go for second term, and he won his second term. So the facts are there. Unless you don't know what you're doing, then you can make the wrong move. And I have no doubt that if I win, I'll know that I won because of Action Alliance, and I'll remain Action Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's as much as we can take on today's exclusive interview. We have been discussing with Ben Etiaba. He is the Anambra State's 2021 gubernatorial candidate for the Action Alliance, and we have been trying to understand why he should become the next governor of Anambra State. Special thanks to the people that participated in this interview and our guests. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. And thank you to all the viewers, all the listeners, and thank you to Elumba, Daniel. Thank you to all the people that took the time to ask questions. And please, You can also access me through my social media handles at Ben Etiaba. Ask me questions any day, anytime, and I'll be delighted to answer. And I'm a proud member of Action Alliance. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. And remember that this interview was recorded and live streamed on YouTube and Facebook. In case if you missed the beginning, you can always go there to watch it. And from me, it's good night.
Good night. Thank you.